Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carly Stevens. I'm the author of the Tanyuan Academy series, and this is English Nerd. So this is the second video in the Creating Realistic Characters series, and today I wanted to talk to you about strengthening weaker characters. So I know that in my Tanyuan Academy series, there were some characters that came really naturally to me, and they're easy to write. They, for whatever reason, I understand their voice, I understand a lot of things about them, but then there were other characters that were important as well, maybe not as important as some of the very main characters, but I felt like I didn't have a handle on really who they were. And so in order to create some depth to them, to understand them better, I employed some of the tips that I'm going to give you today, and now I feel like, although I can't get into their shoes as easily as some of the main characters, they have a life of their own now that I was struggling to find earlier on. I could tell they were people, but I didn't know them very well. So these are some ways to get to know some of your characters that you don't know as well, or if you feel like things are falling flat, even with your main character, these can be great and helpful tips. All right, I have 3 for you today. Number 1 is have a conversation with the character and write it down. So do kind of an interview thing, just to questions and answers. This is a great way to find your character's voice. Do they use a lot of slang? Do they hesitate when you try to approach certain topics? Or what is the way in which they answer questions? Are they revealing things that they really want out of life? Probe into that. If you spend some time alone with that one character without focusing on other characters at the same time, that is a good way to drill down into what makes that character tick and get that voice down as well. What do they sound like and how is it different from the other characters in your story? So as writers, you'll understand what I'm talking about. It's not like we hear voices exactly. But it's a combination of discovering the character and creating the character. You guys know what I'm talking about. So number 1 is conversation. Number 2 is micro-flashbacks. Now this I made a video about last year, I think, and it is a great way to add depth quickly to a character kind of on the fly. So instead of spending a bunch of time, filling out different forms about a character or things like that, you can just add in these sorts of flashbacks. Now, when I say a micro flashback, I don't mean going back and retelling some big long story. Instead, it should be more like a throwaway comment or thought that just indicates that there is more to them than meets the eye. So it could be something like the character's approaching a circus. The last time he was at a circus, everything had gone wrong. It took 2 weeks to get the smell of elephant dung out of his clothes. It makes you go, oh, okay, so there's something that happened there. You don't even need to go into all the details, but suddenly you know that there is a past to this character that extends beyond the confines of the story itself. You could also have this in dialogue as well. So you remember how that, I'm trying to think of some examples on the fly, and it's a lot easier when it's kind of cushioned in an actual story, but you could do something like, well, you know what happened last time, or does your sister still take violin lessons? I know that was the case before the raid happened, or something like that. So you just get these tiny little glimpses into the background of a character. It's not even a full flashback, it's just a reference to something in the past. I know that you used to love this, or does your dad still do this? And now suddenly there's history and there are layers to the character that you can start to play on. So that is tip number 2, use micro flashbacks. And then finally, this is one that I've used before and it's surprisingly useful. Number 3 is list 10 random facts about the character, just in your journal or wherever you normally do that kind of thing. And you may or may not use this information, but it's information that you can draw from or know about a character and reference. So I've had off and on difficulties, even with some of my main characters, really getting down into who they are and making sure that they don't become too one note. And so I've written lists of, what do they like? Well, this person really likes swimming. He's really a much better jumper than like anybody else in the story. All this stuff that I may or may not use, but it's something that can inform a deeper understanding and delivery of the character, because I know that they're not just what's on page. Instead, there's something that goes beyond that. So like I know all the names and general personalities of all of Bard's siblings, and one shows up on page, but the rest of them I know about because I've thought about it, and so you get the idea. 10 random facts. It can go really fast. They do not need to be deep, important facts, but even that is enough to often not give the illusion of, give the illusion of depth, but it feels more like real depth. Okay, so those are my 3 tips for strengthening weaker characters, or when you feel like they're starting to get kind of bland or not compelling or complex enough. So have a conversation with the character, use micro-flashbacks, and list 10 random things about them. Hopefully these were helpful hints. If you have any other tips about how to strengthen weaker characters, put those in the comments below. Like this video if you like it, and don't forget to subscribe for more English nerdy goodness. All right, see you next Monday. Bye.